Hey guys, tonight we are traveling back to a time when protecting your eyes wasn't about fashion, but about mystery and a very specific kind of quiet power. You might think that the history of sunglasses starts with modern pilots or movie stars, but the story actually begins in the quiet, dusty workshops of ancient China. You probably believe this invention was all about the sun, but as we'll see, it was just as much about keeping secrets and looking cool in a courtroom. Before you get too comfortable and possibly fall asleep halfway through, tap like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy this odd mix of boredom and history. It keeps the channel alive and the stories just sleepy enough to help you drift off again next time. If you are still awake, why not share where you are listening from and what time it is there? It is always nice to know which corner of the world is drifting off with us. Now dim the lights, let the world outside grow quiet, and turn on a fan if you like that soft, steady hum in the background. Let your shoulders loosen and your breathing slow. This is your time to drift. No rush, no deadlines, no noise. Just you, a little warmth in the air, and the faint whisper of history waiting to unfold. So, settle in, and let's ease gently into tonight's journey together. The sun is a heavy, golden weight against your eyelids as you walk through the crowded streets of a city that has existed for 1,000 years. The air is thick with the scent of roasted grains and the dry, sweet smell of cedar wood burning in distant kitchens. You feel the warmth of the cobblestones through the thin soles of your shoes, a steady pulse of heat that seems to rise from the very earth itself. Every surface reflects the brilliant light of the afternoon, from the polished wooden pillars of the tea houses to the silk robes of the merchants passing by. Your eyes ache from the constant shimmer, that sharp, white glare that makes the world feel a little too bright and a little too loud. You find yourself squinting, your brow furrowed, trying to find a patch of shade in a world that seems to be made entirely of light. You turn a corner and step into the cool, dim interior of a workshop that smells of damp stone and cold iron. The transition is a relief, like a cool cloth pressed against a fevered forehead. The walls are lined with shelves holding rough, unpolished treasures pulled from the deep ribs of the mountains. Here, the light does not bite. It filters through small, high windows, casting long, dusty shadows across the floor. You see a man sitting on a low wooden stool, his back slightly bent as he works with a patience that feels older than the city itself. In his hands, he holds a piece of smoky quartz, a dark, translucent crystal that looks like a trapped storm cloud. It is a deep, tea-colored brown, almost black in the thickest parts, but where the light catches the edges, it glows with a soft, amber warmth. This is the morion, the dark stone that will soon become your shield against the world. You watch as he picks up a rough slab of the crystal. It is heavy and cool to the touch, a piece of the earth that has spent millions of years in the dark, only to be brought out into a world that is far too bright. He begins to rub the stone against a flat piece of granite, using a mixture of fine sand and water as an abrasive. The sound is a steady, rhythmic grinding, a low, frequency hum that vibrates through the wooden table and into your own bones. It is a slow process, one that cannot be rushed. If he applies too much pressure, the crystal might snap, sending sharp shards flying across the room. If he applies too little, the surface will remain pitted and dull, You realize that this is not just labor, it is a form of meditation. Each movement of his arm is deliberate, a physical manifestation of a singular focus. You feel your own breathing begin to match the rhythm of his work, your chest rising and falling with the steady back and forth motion of the stone. The artisan pauses to wipe away the gray sludge of stone dust and water, revealing a surface that is beginning to grow flat and smooth. He holds it up to the light, peering through the smoky depths of the quartz. From your perspective, the world on the other side of that stone is transformed. The harsh glare of the window disappears, replaced by a soft, muted landscape. The dust motes dancing in the air become golden sparks against a dark velvet background. It is a strange sensation, seeing the world through a filter that strips away the aggression of the sun. You think about how people have always tried to find ways to soften the edges of reality. Perhaps you recall that ancient trick of using crocodile dung sunscreen, which was arguably much less pleasant than holding a piece of mountain crystal to your face. Historians still argue whether these very first quartz lenses were accidental discoveries by miners who noticed the relief the dark stones provided, or if they were the result of a deliberate search for a way to dim the sky. As the afternoon progresses, the artisan continues his work, moving from the coarse granite to a finer polishing stone. The grinding sound changes, becoming softer, more of a hiss than a growl. Your mind begins to wander, drifting through the history of this particular stone. Smoky quartz is a variety of macrocrystalline quartz that gets its color from natural irradiation within the earth. It is a mainstream historical fact that these lenses were first recorded during the 12th century in China, though the stones themselves had been used for ornamental purposes for much longer. You imagine the deep, dark veins of the earth where these crystals grow, surrounded by the silent pressure of the mountains. They are like the earth's own sunglasses, formed in the dark to handle the light. The artisan picks up a piece of soft leather and a tin of fine polishing powder. He begins to rub the surface of the quartz in small, circular motions. The stone starts to shine, losing its frosted appearance and becoming clear, though still deeply tinted. You reach out and touch a finished piece that lies on a silk cloth nearby. It is remarkably smooth, almost oily to the touch, and it holds a deep, resonant coldness that seems to defy the heat of the workshop. When you lift it to your own eyes, the transition is startling. The room, already dim, becomes a place of deep shadows and soft, glowing highlights. The tension in your forehead vanishes instantly. Your eyes, which had been tight and strained all day, suddenly relax, the muscles behind them letting go of a burden you hadn't even realized you were carrying. It is a quirky or fringe tidbit that these early lenses did absolutely nothing to help you see better in terms of focus. In fact, because the quartz was rarely perfectly flat or free of internal inclusions, your vision through them was often slightly distorted or blurry. They were the opposite of modern prescription glasses. They were designed to obscure rather than to clarify. But in this moment, clarity is not what you crave. You crave the quiet. You crave the ability to look at the world without the world looking back into you. Through the smoky quartz, you are a ghost in the room, observing everything through a veil of ancient earth. You watch the artisan begin to work on a second lens, matching it in size and thickness to the first. There are no frames yet, No wires to hook behind the ears or bridges to rest on the nose. Those will come later, or perhaps they will never come at all for this particular pair. In this era, many of these lenses are held up by hand, or perhaps tied to the head with simple silk cords that bite into the skin. It is a clumsy, heavy solution to a universal problem, but as you stand there in the cooling shadows of the shop, it feels like the height of luxury. You think about the people who will wear these. They are not the laborers in the fields or the sailors on the rivers. Those people must squint and endure, their eyes weathering the sun like old leather. These stones are for the people of the indoors, the scholars, the high officials, and the guardians of the law. The sun begins to dip lower in the sky, its light turning from a sharp white to a deep, honeyed orange. The shadows in the workshop lengthen, stretching across the floor like dark fingers. The artisan's work is nearly done for the day. He sets down the polishing leather and sighs, a soft sound that is almost lost in the quiet of the room. He looks at the two dark discs of quartz with a sense of quiet satisfaction. They are not perfect, but they are beautiful. They represent a victory over the most powerful force in the sky. You feel a sense of kinship with this man, this creator of shadows, in a world that often demands we see everything clearly and respond to every stimulus. There is something deeply comforting about the idea of a stone that lets us opt out, just for a moment. You imagine yourself leaving the workshop, the finished lenses tucked safely into a small silk pouch. The world outside is still warm, but the light is fading. You know that tomorrow, when the sun rises again and the glare returns to the streets, you will have a secret. You will have a piece of the mountain to hold between yourself and the sky. You will be able to walk through the brilliance without being blinded by it. This thought brings a gentle smile to your face, a feeling of peace that starts in your eyes and spreads down through your shoulders. The world is a bright, busy place, but you have found a way to make it a little darker, a little quieter, and a little more manageable. The steady rhythm of the artisan's breathing, now that he has finished his work, is the only sound in the room. It is a slow, deep cadence that echoes the peace you feel. You lean back against a wooden pillar, feeling the rough grain of the wood through your clothes. The air in the workshop is getting cooler now, the scent of the damp stone becoming more pronounced. It is a clean, honest smell, the smell of the earth's crust. You close your eyes, and for a moment you can still see the shape of the smoky quartz lenses burned into your vision, a dark twin, sun that promises rest. As you linger in the doorway, watching the last rays of the sun hit the dusty street outside, you think about how little has changed in the human heart. We still look for ways to hide, ways to protect ourselves, and ways to see the world on our own terms. The technology has changed. The materials have become lighter and more precise, but the fundamental desire is the same. We want to be able to look at the sun and not turn away. We want to be able to stand in the light while keeping a little bit of the dark for ourselves. The artisan begins to pack away his tools, his movements slow and methodical. He places the grinding stones in a wooden box and pours the used water into a basin. The sound of the water splashing is soft and liquid, a gentle end to a day of hard, dry work. You realize that you are feeling very heavy, your limbs weighted with a pleasant tiredness that feels like the quartz itself. The strain of the day is gone, replaced by a deep, hollow calm. You are ready for the night to come, for the sun to finally disappear behind the horizon and leave the world to the stars. You take one last look at the smoky quartz on the table. It sits there, dark and silent, a masterpiece of ancient tech that required nothing more than a stone, some sand, and a great deal of time. It is a reminder that sometimes the best solutions are the simplest ones, and that beauty often comes from the most unlikely places, like a clouded crystal found in the heart of a mountain. The artisan blows out a single candle, and the workshop is plunged into a soft, velvety darkness. You step out into the evening air, which is now cool and smelling of night, blooming jasmine. The transition is easy now. Your eyes don't have to fight anymore. The world has finally caught up to the shade you found in the shop. You walk slowly down the street, the sounds of the city fading into a distant murmur. The voices of people, the clatter of carts, the barking of a dog. It all feels far away, like a story being told in another room. You are focused only on the feeling of your own footsteps, the slow rise and fall of your breath, and the lingering coolness of the quartz lenses in your mind. They are a shield, a comfort, and a promise of quiet. As you move toward your home, you feel the day's energy ebbing away, leaving you lightened and driftless. The history of these stones is long and winding, but for now, it is enough to know that they exist, and that they were made for eyes just like yours, tired of the glare and longing for the soft, smoky embrace of the shade. The streetlights, simple lanterns flickering with a warm, amber glow, begin to appear one by one. They don't hurt to look at. They are like small, grounded stars guiding you home. You think about how many people throughout history have looked at these same stars and felt the same relief at the end of a long, bright day. The judges of the Song dynasty, the scholars of the imperial courts, the artisans in their dim shops. They all knew the value of a little darkness. They knew that the eyes need to rest just as much as the body does. And tonight, you are part of that lineage. You are a traveler in the history of shade, a witness to the birth of a tool that changed how we see the world by allowing us to see less of it. Your journey through the workshop has left you with a sense of profound stillness. The heavy, rhythmic grinding of the stone, the cool touch of the crystal, and the visual relief of the smoky tint have all combined to create a sanctuary in your mind. You are no longer squinting at the world. You are looking at it with soft eyes, eyes that are ready to close and dream of dark mountains and cool, hidden caves. The story of the smoky quartz is just beginning, and there are many more layers to uncover, many more courtrooms to visit, and many more frozen landscapes to explore. But for this moment, in this section of time, you are simply a person standing in the twilight, grateful for the shadows and the ancient hands that learned how to shape them. The air around you is perfectly still now. Even the wind seems to have gone to sleep. You can hear the faint rustle of your own silk sleeves as you move, a sound so soft it is almost like a whisper. It is a good time to be quiet. It is a good time to let the thoughts of the day slide away like water off a smooth stone. You are safe, you are warm, and the world is exactly as dark as it needs to be. The smoky quartz has done its job, even if it is only a memory of a lens you saw in a shop. It has taught you how to find the shade within yourself, how to dim the internal glare of worries and plans. You are drifting now, floating on the steady pulse of history, ready to see where the next turn in the path will take you, but perfectly content to stay right here in the deepening blue of the evening. The weight of the day has been polished away, much like the surface of the crystal. What remains is something clear and calm. You find yourself thinking about the artisan one last time, wondering if he knew that his work would be remembered hundreds of years later, not just as a piece of eyewear, but as a moment of peace for a tired traveler. Probably not. He was likely just thinking about the next stone, the next bit of sand, and the simple beauty of a job well done. There is a lesson in that, too. A lesson in the quiet power of simple things, and the enduring value of a little bit of shade. The cool transition from the dusty workshop to the grand, echoing halls of the imperial court is like slipping into a deep, still pond. You leave the heat of the street behind, feeling the temperature drop as the thick stone walls of the courthouse swallow the noise of the city. The air here is different. It doesn't move with the wind. Instead, it hangs heavy with the scent of old paper, dried ink, and a faint, lingering trail of sandalwood incense. Your footsteps are muffled by the thick, woven rugs that line the corridors, each step feeling soft and deliberate. You are no longer just a curious traveler. You have become an observer of the law, a silent witness to the way justice is carved out of silence and shadows. As you walk deeper into the heart of the building, you notice how the light changes. It is no longer the raw, unfiltered glare of the sun that forced you to squint earlier. Here, the windows are small and set high in the walls, allowing only thin beams of dusty light to pierce the gloom. These beams illuminate tiny particles of history floating in the air, creating a shimmering curtain that separates the public areas from the inner sanctum of the court. You find a quiet corner and wait, your back resting against a pillar of dark, polished wood that feels as smooth as silk. You are waiting for the judge to appear, and with him, the true purpose of those smoky quartz lenses you saw being shaped in the artisan's shop. When the judge finally enters, he does so with a slow, rhythmic grace that commands the entire room. His robes are made of heavy, dark silk that whispers against the floor, a sound so subtle it is almost like the breathing of the building itself. But it is his face that draws your attention. Across the bridge of his nose, held in place by delicate silk cords tied behind his ears, are two large, flat discs of smoky quartz. They are the same dark, tea-colored stones you held in your hands, but here, in the dim light of the courtroom, they look even more mysterious. They are like two black pools of water that reveal nothing of what lies beneath. You realize that you cannot see his eyes. You cannot tell where he is looking, or what he is thinking. This is the mainstream historical fact that often surprises people. In 12th century China, during the Song dynasty, judges wore these darkened lenses not to protect their eyes from the sun, but to hide their facial expressions. In a legal system where neutrality was a sacred requirement, the judge's eyes were considered a potential weakness. A flicker of doubt, a flash of anger, or even a moment of sympathy could be read by the witnesses or the accused, potentially swaying their testimony or giving them a hint of the final verdict. By wearing the smoky quartz, the judge becomes a living statue, an impartial force of nature that cannot be read or manipulated. It is a powerful psychological tool, a way of maintaining the dignity of the court through the power of the hidden gaze. You watch the proceedings unfold from your place in the shadows. A merchant is speaking, his voice trembling slightly as he describes a lost shipment of silk. He looks up at the judge, searching for some sign of belief or skepticism, but he finds only the dark, silent reflection of the quartz. The judge sits perfectly still, his chin resting slightly on his hand. You wonder if he is even awake behind those dark lenses. It is a light, sleepy joke among the court clerks that a judge could take a quick nap during a particularly long and boring testimony, and no one would ever be the wiser. As long as he remains upright and silent, the illusion of deep, focused contemplation remains unbroken. It is the ultimate poker face of the ancient world, a way of saying everything by showing nothing. The room feels very peaceful, despite the weight of the legal matters being discussed. The steady drone of the merchant's voice becomes a background hum, like the sound of a distant bee in a summer garden. You find yourself focusing on the visual texture of the courtroom. The judge's desk is covered in scrolls of yellowish paper, their edges curled with age. There is a heavy ink stone, carved in the shape of a sleeping dragon, where the dark, liquid ink reflects the flickering light of a nearby candle. You remember that crocodile dung sunscreen from earlier and laugh softly to yourself. While that was a messy, physical shield against the world, these quartz lenses are a mental one. They represent a sophistication of thought, a move from merely surviving the environment to mastering the social and psychological landscape. Historians still argue whether these judicial glasses were strictly for secrecy, or if they also served a more practical, medical purpose. Some believe that the cooling sensation of the quartz against the skin was thought to balance the hit of the eyes, a common complaint in an era when scholars spent their lives reading tiny characters by the light of dim oil lamps. You imagine the relief the judge must feel when he puts them on. The world becomes simpler, less demanding. He doesn't have to worry about the brightness of the room or the intensity of the gaze of others. He is in his own private world of shade, a sanctuary of stone and silk. As the afternoon light begins to shift, casting even longer shadows across the floor, you notice a quirky or fringe tidbit about these early glasses. Because there was no bridge to sit on the nose in the modern sense, the quartz discs were often quite heavy and tended to slide down the face. To prevent a very undignified legal disaster, some judges had servants who stood nearby, ready to subtly adjust the lenses if they began to tilt. Others used elaborate systems of weights and counter-balances that hung down the back of their necks. You imagine the struggle of trying to look like the embodiment of eternal wisdom while essentially balancing two heavy rocks on your face, using nothing but a bit of string and sheer willpower. It is a reminder that even the most powerful people in history had to deal with the annoying little inconveniences of their technology. The trial continues, but your mind is drifting. You are thinking about the incredible journey that light takes. It travels millions of miles from the sun, hits the dusty street outside, bounces off a white wall, and then tries to enter the courtroom. But there it meets the smoky quartz. The light is slowed, absorbed, and scattered. Only a tiny fraction of it makes it through to the judge's eyes. It is a filter for reality, a way of selecting only the information that is necessary. You feel a deep sense of calm in this idea. In a world that is often too much, too bright, and too loud, the idea of a filter is incredibly appealing. You let your own eyes close for a moment, imagining you are wearing the smoky quartz yourself. The world turns a soft, warm brown, and the edges of your thoughts begin to blur. You hear the soft rustle of paper as the judge finally speaks. His voice is low and steady, a calming vibration that seems to come from deep within his chest. He isn't shouting or using grand gestures. He doesn't need to. The authority is already there, held in the stillness of his posture and the darkness of his eyes. You realize that the glasses aren't just for him. They are for everyone else in the room. They create a space where the law can exist without the interference of human emotion. It is a beautiful, if somewhat cold, concept. You feel the weight of your own limbs increasing, your body sinking deeper into the soft rug. The environment is so controlled, so quiet, and so deliberate that it is impossible not to feel a sense of profound relaxation. The judge stands up, signaling a break in the proceedings. He moves with a slow, careful gait, likely because his peripheral vision is almost non-existent through the dark stones. He looks a bit like a celebrity today, trying to navigate a grocery store without being spotted by the paparazzi. You watch as he disappears through a side door, the dark silk of his robes trailing behind him like a shadow. The courtroom begins to empty, the people moving quietly, so as not to disturb the lingering sense of order. You stay in your corner for a while longer, enjoying the silence that remains. The incense has burned down to a single, glowing coal, and the scent is now thick and sweet, like honey and smoke. You think about how these judges were the first, cool people in history, at least in the modern sense of the word. They understood the power of the accessory, the way an object can change how the world perceives you. Long before pilots wore aviators to look daring or rock stars wore shades to look detached, these ancient officials were using smoky quartz to create a barrier between their public duty and their private selves. It is a fascinating link across the centuries, a thread of human behavior that remains unchanged. We all want a way to retreat, to hide a part of ourselves, and to face the world from behind a shield of our own making. The air in the courtroom is getting cooler now as the sun sets. The golden beams of light have turned to a deep, bruised purple, and the dust motes have settled back onto the floor. You stand up slowly, stretching your muscles and feeling the blood return to your legs. You walk toward the judge's bench, curious to see the space where he sat. Up close, the desk is even more impressive. The wood is scarred with thousands of tiny scratches, the marks of a century of pens and paper. You imagine all the stories that have been told in this room, all the lives that have been changed, all the secrets that have been kept behind those dark quartz lenses. You reach out and touch the edge of the judge's chair. It is cold and hard, a reminder of the burden of his office. You think about the artisan from the first section, and how his humble work in the workshop became an essential part of the grand theater of the law. One man grinds the stone, and another man wears it to change the course of a life. It is a beautiful cycle of creation and use, a testimony to the interconnectedness of all things. You feel a deep sense of satisfaction in this realization, a feeling of being part of something much larger than yourself. The final candle in the room flickers and dies, leaving you in the soft, natural darkness of the evening. You make your way toward the exit, your eyes easily adjusting to the low light. You don't need smoky quartz right now. The world has provided its own shade. You step out of the courthouse and back into the city, which is now a place of soft lanterns and quiet conversations. The transition is seamless this time. You are no longer fighting the light. You have learned its secrets, and you have seen how it can be mastered. As you walk through the streets, you see a group of scholars sitting around a table in a tea house. One of them is wearing a pair of dark lenses, likely a cheaper version made of glass or less perfect quartz. He is laughing, his head tilted back, the lenses catching the light of a nearby lamp. Even in this casual setting, the glasses give him an air of mystery and intellect. It is a sign of status, a mark of the educated class. You smile, thinking about how trends begin and how they spread. What started as a tool for a judge has become a fashion statement for a student. It is the same story, told over and over again through the ages. You find yourself heading toward the river, where the water is dark and reflects the stars like scattered diamonds. The sound of the water lapping against the stone banks is a gentle, rhythmic pulse that mirrors your own heartbeat. You sit on a low wall and watch the boats glide by, their lanterns glowing like orange embers in the night. You feel completely at peace, your mind quiet and your body heavy with a pleasant, lingering tiredness. The journey through the courtroom has been a journey into the heart of human psychology, a look at how we use objects to navigate our relationships with each other and with the truth. The smoky quartz lenses are more than just ancient tech. They are a bridge between the physical world and the world of ideas. They are a way of making the invisible visible, or rather, making the visible invisible. You think about the historians still arguing about their origins, and you realize that the answer doesn't really matter. What matters is the effect they had, the way they allowed a single person to stand as a symbol of something greater than themselves. They provided the shade necessary for wisdom to grow, the quiet necessary for justice to be heard. As you sit there by the river, you feel the day's journey coming to a close. The heat of the sun, the grinding of the stone, the silence of the courtroom, it all blends together into a single, beautiful memory. You are ready for sleep, ready to let your own eyes close and find the deep, smoky darkness of dreams. The history of the quartz sunglasses will continue tomorrow, moving into the workshops of the masters and across the frozen landscapes of the north. But for now, it is enough to simply be here, in the quiet of the night, with the memory of the judges and their hidden eyes. You take a deep breath, the cool night air filling your lungs and clearing your mind. The world is a good place, full of mystery and beauty, and you are lucky to be a part of it. You feel a sense of profound gratitude for the artisans, the judges, and the scholars who came before you, and for the simple, elegant solutions they found to the challenges of life. The smoky quartz is a reminder that even in the brightest light, we can find a way to be still. We can find a way to be quiet. We can find a way to be ourselves. The river continues its steady journey to the sea, and you continue your journey toward sleep. The stars above are bright, but they don't sting. They are friendly, distant lights that watch over the world as it rests. You close your eyes, and the last thing you see is the shape of the dark lenses, a protective shadow that guards your rest. You are safe, you are warm, and the night is full of peaceful shadows. The story of the quartz is a story of comfort, and tonight that comfort is yours. You imagine the judge in his own home now, his robes hung up, his smoky quartz lenses resting safely in a silk-lined box. He is probably sleeping too, his eyes finally free from the burden of sight. He doesn't have to be a judge anymore. He can just be a man in the dark, resting his weary eyes. You like this thought? It makes the world feel small and connected. We all need to put down our tools at the end of the day. We all need to take off our masks and our glasses and just be still. The soft hum of the city, the gentle lapping of the river, and the distant call of a night bird all blend into a single, soothing lullaby. You are drifting now, floating on a sea of history and shadow. The smoky quartz has led you here, to this moment of perfect calm. It is a gift from the past, a piece of ancient wisdom that still holds true today. The light will return tomorrow, but for now, the darkness is your friend. It is a time for rest, for dreams, and for the quiet peace that comes from a well-spent day. The journey from the silent, shadowed courtroom leads you back toward the outskirts of the city, where the air is thinner and the scent of pine needles begins to replace the heavy musk of the court. You find yourself walking up a winding path that hugs the side of a hill, the ground covered in a soft carpet of fallen leaves that cushions every step. The world here feels more open, yet the goal is still the same, the creation of a perfect, smoky darkness. You are heading toward a specialized workshop, a place where the quartz is not just ground and polished, but where it is transformed by the very element of fire itself. The artisan who works here is a master of smoke, a person who understands how to talk to the stones using nothing but heat and time. As you reach the small, wooden structure perched on the hillside, you notice the thin, wispy trails of blue smoke rising from the chimney. They dance against the twilight sky like silk ribbons, curling and twisting in the light breeze. The sound of the wind through the pine trees is a low, rhythmic sigh that seems to invite you to slow down. You pause at the entrance, feeling the warmth radiating from the interior. It is a dry, comfortable heat that smells of toasted wood and ancient resins. Inside, the room is bathed in the soft, flickering orange glow of several small furnaces. There are no bright lanterns here, only the steady, living light of the embers. You move toward the center of the room, where a large, flat hearth is covered in a layer of fine, white ash. The artisan is there, his movements so slow and deliberate that he almost seems to be moving through water. He is not grinding the stone today, he is preparing it for its baptism in smoke. You see a row of clear, brilliant quartz discs laid out on a bed of sand. They are like drops of frozen water, perfectly transparent and full of light. It is hard to imagine that these bright, icy things will soon become the dark, mysterious lenses of a judge or a high official. You think about how much patience this requires. It is like the world's most patient barbecue, except the results are definitely not edible, and if the artisan sneezes at the wrong moment, it is basically a 3-day delay for the whole project. The process begins with the selection of the wood. The artisan picks up pieces of dried cedar and small bundles of aromatic herbs. He places them carefully into the furnace, creating a fire that is not meant to roar, but to smolder. This is the mainstream historical fact that anchors this craft. While natural smoky quartz exists in the earth due to irradiation, many of the 12th century lenses were actually smoked by hand to achieve a deeper, more uniform tint. The artisan knows that the color must be infused into the stone, not just painted onto the surface. He is essentially dyeing the crystal with the essence of the fire. You watch as the first curls of thick, yellow, white smoke begin to fill the chamber where the quartz discs are kept. You take a seat on a low wooden bench, your back leaning against the warm stone wall. The atmosphere is incredibly soothing. The flickering light creates dancing shadows on the ceiling, and the sound of the fire is a series of tiny, muffled pops and hisses as the resin in the wood reacts to the heat. It is a natural ASMR experience, a symphony of small, cozy sounds that make your eyelids feel heavy. You remember that crocodile dung sunscreen from earlier and realize that this process is its polar opposite. Where the sunscreen was about blocking the sun with something physical and perhaps a bit repulsive, this is about using the most ethereal element, smoke, to create a tool of beauty and function. It is a much more elegant way to handle the glare of the world. Historians still argue whether the smoked appearance was achieved through direct contact with the carbon-rich smoke, or if a secondary vapor deposition method was used to create a more permanent bond with the crystal. You watch the artisan adjust the vents of the furnace with a long iron rod. He is controlling the oxygen, making sure the fire stays at exactly the right temperature. If it gets too hot, the quartz might crack from thermal shock. If it stays too cool, the smoke won't penetrate the surface. It is a delicate balance, a dance between the stone and the flame. You feel a deep respect for this hidden knowledge, the kind of expertise that isn't found in books, but in the calloused hands and the watchful eyes of the master. The air in the workshop is thick but surprisingly sweet. The herbs the artisan added give the smoke a scent of lavender and dried tea. It is a quirky or fringe tidbit that some high-end lenses were actually scented during this process, allowing the wearer to carry a faint, calming aroma with them wherever they went. Imagine being a judge, surrounded by the tension of a trial, and having the scent of a summer garden right under your nose. It would certainly make the long hours of testimony more bearable. You find yourself breathing deeply, the aromatic smoke filling your lungs and making your whole body feel light and relaxed. The hours pass in a blur of soft light and gentle warmth. You lose track of time, the steady rhythm of the artisan's work acting as a clock. Every so often, he uses a pair of long, slender tongs to turn the quartz discs. They are no longer clear. They have begun to take on a pale, golden hue, like the color of weak tea. As the smoke continues to swirl around them, this color deepens, moving through shades of amber and bronze until it reaches a rich, dark brown. It is a magical transformation to witness. It is as if the stones are absorbing the night itself, holding it within their crystalline structures. You think about how modern sunglasses companies would have a nervous breakdown watching this pace. In our world, we want everything instantly, produced by machines in the thousands. But here, a single pair of lenses might take days to perfect. There is a dignity in this slowness. It forces you to appreciate the object, to understand that it is a piece of the world that has been carefully shaped by human intention. You find yourself looking at your own hands thinking about the things you create and the time you give to them. The workshop becomes a temple of focus, a place where the only thing that matters is the quality of the shadow being born in the furnace. The artisan pauses to offer you a cup of warm tea, his movements fluid and silent. You take the cup, the heat of the ceramic warming your palms. The tea is dark and earthy, mirroring the color of the stones in the fire. You sip it slowly, feeling the warmth spread through your chest. The sound of the wind outside has picked up, a low whistle through the eaves of the building. But inside, the air is still and safe. You are tucked away in a corner of history, a small pocket of peace in a busy world. The smoky quartz is the centerpiece of this piece, the focal point of all this effort and care. As the sun fully disappears and the true night takes over, the artisan begins the final stage of the process. He gradually reduces the heat, allowing the furnace to cool slowly. This is the most dangerous part. If the quartz cools too quickly, all the work of the past few hours will be undone in a single, sharp snap of breaking crystal. He covers the stones with more white ash, creating an insulating blanket that will hold the heat for the rest of the night. It is like tucking the stones into bed, ensuring they stay warm and protected as they settle into their new identity. You watch him move through the final steps, his shadow long and thin against the walls. The fire has died down to a dull, pulsing red glow. The room is getting darker, but your eyes have long since adjusted. You feel a profound sense of closure. The transformation is complete. Tomorrow, when the ash is brushed away, the stones will be cold and dark, ready to be polished one last time before being sent to the court or the market. But for now, they are resting, and so are you. The artisan finishes his work and sits down on a stool near the hearth. For the first time, he looks relaxed, his shoulders dropping as he lets out a long, quiet sigh. He doesn't need to speak. The silence between you is comfortable and full of shared understanding. You have both witnessed the birth of something beautiful. You have seen how the light of the fire can be used to create a shield against the light of the sun. It is a beautiful irony, one that feels particularly poignant in the quiet of the night. You feel the weight of the day's journey pressing down on you, but it is a good weight. It is the weight of knowledge, of sensory experience, and of deep, restorative peace. Your mind is full of images. The grinding of the stone, the mystery of the judge's eyes, and the swirling dance of the smoke in the furnace. They all fit together like pieces of a puzzle, telling a story of human ingenuity and our eternal quest for comfort and status. The smoky quartz is the thread that ties it all together, a dark, translucent line running through the centuries. You decide to stay in the workshop for a little while longer, letting the last of the warmth seep into your bones. The air is so still that you can hear the tiny, microscopic sounds of the cooling ash settling around the stones. It is a sound like falling snow, so faint you have to hold your breath to hear it. You close your eyes, and in the darkness, you can still see the orange glow of the embers. You feel yourself drifting, your thoughts becoming as light and airy as the smoke that once filled the room. You are safe, you are warm, and you are part of a tradition that stretches back to the beginning of time. The artisan eventually stands up and moves toward the door, gesturing for you to follow if you wish, or to stay if you prefer. You decide to step out into the night air which is now crisp and cold. The transition is refreshing, a sharp contrast to the cozy warmth of the workshop. The stars are brilliant overhead, their light untinted and raw. You think about how different they would look through the smoky quartz. Their sharp edges softened, their intensity dimmed. But tonight, you want to see them as they are. You want to feel the full scale of the universe before you return to the world of men. As you walk down the hill, the lights of the city appear below you like a fallen constellation. They are far away and quiet. You feel a sense of perspective that you didn't have this morning. You have seen how much work goes into creating even the smallest piece of protection. You have seen the patience of the artisan and the dignity of the judge. You have seen how smoke can be turned into a tool. It is a lot to carry, but it feels light in your mind. The walk back is slow and peaceful. You are no longer in a rush. The world will still be there tomorrow, and the sun will rise again, bringing with it the need for shade. But for now, you have the memory of the fire and the smoke. You have the feeling of the warm ceramic cup in your hands and the scent of lavender and cedar in your hair. These are the things that matter. These are the things that help you drift off into a deep, dreamless sleep. You find yourself thinking about the stones under the ash, cooling slowly in the dark. They are becoming what they were meant to be. They are finding their final form. And in a way, so are you. The journey through the history of the smoky quartz is a journey toward stillness. It is a lesson in how to find the quiet center of a busy world. As you reach the bottom of the hill and enter the quiet streets of the city, you feel a deep, resonant calm. The story of the master craft is over, but its influence lingers on, a soft, smoky shadow in the back of your mind. You look up at the moon, which is a silver disk in the dark sky. It doesn't need sunglasses. It is already a master of the night. You smile at the thought, a sleepy, contented smile. You are ready for your own rest, ready to let the world fade away and find the deep, dark quartz of your dreams. The history will continue, moving to other lands and other cultures, but this moment, this piece of the story, belongs to the fire and the artisan and the quiet night. The city is almost completely silent now. The lanterns have all been extinguished, and the only light comes from the stars and the moon. You feel like a ghost walking through a world of shadows, but it is a pleasant feeling. You are not afraid of the dark. You have seen how it is made. You have seen the beauty in the smoke and the value in the shade. You are a traveler in the history of vision, and tonight your vision is clear and calm. As you finally reach your place of rest, you take one last deep breath of the night air. It is clean and cold and full of the promise of tomorrow. But tomorrow is a long way off. Tonight there is only the soft pillow, the warm blanket, and the lingering scent of the smoky quartz workshop. You close your eyes, and the world disappears, replaced by the gentle, rhythmic pulse of the artisan's furnace. You are drifting, you are floating, and you are finally, truly at peace. The story of the smoke is done, and the story of the dream is just beginning. The warmth of the artisan's smoke-filled workshop lingers in your senses like a fading ember as you transition across the vast, invisible bridge of geography and climate. You leave behind the humid, pine-scented hills of China and find yourself standing in a landscape of such profound whiteness that it feels like the world has been erased and redrawn in a single, blinding stroke. Here, the sun does not just sit in the sky, it lives on the ground, bouncing off the infinite expanse of snow and ice with a ferocity that makes the eyes weep. The air is so cold it feels sharp, like 1,000 invisible needles pressing against your skin, and every breath you take is a crisp, clean shock to the system. You are in the far north, the realm of the Arctic, where the challenge of vision is not about hiding one's eyes in a courtroom, but about surviving the literal brilliance of the earth. You look down at your hands, now clad in heavy fur mittens, and then at the person standing beside you. They are not an artisan of quartz, but a master of bone and driftwood. In their hands, they hold a piece of caribou antler, bleached white by the sun and polished by the wind. They are not using fire or sand to create a lens. They are using a sharp stone knife to carve a sliver of darkness out of the bone. This is the cousin of the smoky quartz sunglasses, a parallel evolution of technology born from the same human need to dim the overwhelming light. You watch as they carefully carve a thin, horizontal slit across the center of the bone. There is no glass here, no crystal, no transparency at all. Only the narrowest of openings to let in just enough light to see the horizon without being blinded by the glare. It is a mainstream historical fact that the Inuit and other Arctic peoples developed these snow goggles thousands of years ago, completely independent of the quartz lenses being ground in the East. While the judges of the Song dynasty were using smoke to hide their emotions, the hunters of the North were using bone to prevent snow blindness, a painful condition caused by the excessive ultraviolet light reflecting off the ice. You realize that humans, no matter where they are remarkably clever at finding ways to adjust their environment. You think back to that crocodile dung sunscreen from the warmer lands and realize that, in comparison, a piece of carved antler is an absolute marvel of engineering. It's essentially the world's first letterbox view, turning the panoramic glare into a manageable strip of reality. The sound of the carving is a dry, scraping rhythm, a stark contrast to the wet grinding of the quartz workshop. It is a lonely sound, easily swallowed by the vast, whistling wind that sweeps across the tundra. You wrap your furs tighter around you, feeling the cozy weight of the animal skins. Despite the cold, there is a deep sense of peace here. The silence of the Arctic is not empty. It is a heavy, resonant thing that fills the ears and slows the heart. You watch the carver finish the goggles, smoothing the edges with a piece of dried shark skin until they are soft against the face. They then take a mixture of soot and seal fat and rub it into the inside of the bone, turning the interior into a matte, black void. This prevents any stray light from bouncing around inside the goggles, ensuring that the only light that reaches the eye is the light from the narrow slit. Historians still argue whether these bone goggles actually improved visual acuity by creating a pinhole camera effect, sharpening the focus on distant objects like caribou or landmarks. You decide to try them on, reaching out and taking the cold, smooth bone from the carver. As you press the goggles to your face, the world instantly changes. The overwhelming, painful white of the snow vanishes. In its place is a dark, focused view of the landscape. The horizon becomes a sharp, dark line. The textures of the snow, the drifts, the ridges, the hidden holes, become visible for the first time. It is like turning down the volume on a scream until it becomes a whisper. You feel your eye muscles relax, the constant, reflexive squinting finally coming to an end. It is a relief that feels almost like a physical embrace. You find yourself sitting on a block of ice, watching the sun hover near the horizon. In the north, the sun can stay in this position for hours, casting long, blue shadows that stretch for miles across the snow. Through the narrow slits of the goggles, these shadows look like deep pools of ink. It is a quirky or fringe tidbit that some early Arctic explorers, arriving with their high-tech European glass, actually found these bone goggles superior for navigating the ice because they didn't fog up in the extreme cold. Glass, you see, breathes and sweats, but bone and wood remain constant. You imagine a 19th century explorer standing next to an Inuit hunter, the explorer struggling with his foggy, fancy spectacles while the hunter looks on with perfect, narrow slit clarity. It is a small, sleepy victory for ancient tech over modern convenience. The pace of life here is dictated by the light and the wind. There is no rush, no deadlines. If a storm comes, you wait. If the sun is too bright, you wear your goggles and sit. You feel your mind drifting into this slower rhythm, the frantic energy of the city, and the courtroom fading away like a distant dream. You are focused only on the feeling of the wind against your cheeks, and the sight of the world through the bone. The goggles create a sense of intimacy with the landscape. You are not just looking at it. You are peering through a keyhole into the heart of the winter. It is a private, quiet way of seeing. You think about the smoky quartz again, the tea-colored crystals being turned in the aromatic smoke. In a way, these bone goggles are the dark mode of the ancient world. They are both attempts to reclaim the night in the middle of the day. One uses the density of stone and the essence of fire. The other uses the opacity of bone and the precision of the knife. Both are beautiful, and both are necessary. You feel a sense of unity with all the people throughout history who have looked at the sun and said, "Not today." It is a very human impulse to want to see clearly without being overwhelmed. The carver begins to tell a story through gestures and soft, melodic hums, pointing toward the distant mountains. You don't need to understand the words to feel the meaning. The mountains are old, the ice is deep, and the light is a gift that must be handled with care. You find yourself nodding, your head feeling heavy, and your neck muscles loosening. The cold doesn't feel threatening anymore. It feels like a clean, white blanket that has been wrapped around the world to help it sleep. The steady, rhythmic scraping of the bone knife has started again, as the carver begins a new pair for a child. It is a soothing, repetitive sound, like the ticking of a very old clock. You imagine the journey of these ideas. Perhaps a merchant on the Silk Road once told a story about the eyes of bone, used by the people of the north, and a quartz carver in China wondered if he could do the same with stone. Or perhaps it happened the other way around. Or, most likely, humans just have a universal talent for solving the same problems in different ways. This thought brings a gentle smile to your face. We are a clever species, especially when it comes to being comfortable. You lean back against a mound of soft, powdery snow, feeling it give way beneath you like a giant pillow. The furs are incredibly warm, trapping your body heat and creating a small, private climate just for you. Through the slits of the goggles, you watch a stray husky wander through the camp. The dog's fur is thick and frosted with ice, and it moves with a slow, effortless grace. It doesn't need goggles. Its eyes are built for this. You envy the dog for a moment, but then you realize that there is a special kind of magic in the tool. The fact that we have to make something to survive here makes our presence here more meaningful. We are the architects of our own comfort. The bone goggles are a testament to that. They are a bridge between our fragile bodies and the harsh brilliance of the world. As the golden hour stretches on, the light turns a deep, bruised orange, and the snow reflects the sky in shades of violet and pink. Even through the bone goggles, the color is magnificent. It is a softer light now, less aggressive, but still powerful. You realize that you are feeling very sleepy. The combination of the fresh, cold air and the warm, heavy furs is the perfect recipe for drifting off. Your eyes are protected, your body is warm, and the world is quiet. The scraping of the knife has stopped. The carver is now polishing the bone with a piece of fur, a soft, shushing sound that is barely audible. You think about how far you have come from that first workshop. From the grinding stones to the imperial court, then to the smoking furnace, and now to the frozen edge of the world. Each stop has been a lesson in shade. You have learned that darkness isn't just the absence of light. It is something that can be crafted, shaped, and worn. It is a tool for the mind as much as for the eyes. The smoky quartz and the carved bone are different versions of the same prayer. Give me peace, give me clarity, and let me see what I need to see. The wind dies down completely, leaving the Arctic in a state of perfect, crystalline stillness. You can hear the faint crackle of the ice shifting miles away, a sound like distant thunder, but much sharper. It is the earth speaking to itself in the cold. You close your eyes behind the goggles, enjoying the sensation of the suit, blackened interior. It is like being in a tiny, portable cave. You are safe in your cave of bone and fur. The history of the sunglasses is a long one, but in this moment, it is very simple. It is just you and the quiet and the dark. You find yourself wondering if the judges in China ever heard of the bone goggles. They probably would have found them too rustic, too primitive. And the hunters of the north would likely find the smoky quartz too heavy and fragile. Yet, if they could sit together by a fire, they would recognize each other's eyes. They would see the same look of relief that comes when the glare is finally gone. That relief is a universal human experience, a shared sigh that echoes across the centuries. It is the sound of a burden being lifted. The carver stands up and stretches, his shadow a long, thin needle on the snow. He looks toward the horizon, satisfied with his work. He picks up the finished goggles and tucks them into a pouch made of seal skin. The day's work is done. The light is finally fading into the long, blue twilight of the polar night. The stars will be out soon, millions of them, and they won't need any goggles at all. You feel a deep sense of contentment, a feeling of being exactly where you are supposed to be. You start to drift, your thoughts becoming fragmented and soft. You see the tea-colored quartz and the white caribou bone dancing together in your mind. You see the smoke of the furnace and the spray of the snow. They are all part of the same story, the story of how we navigate the world. You are a part of that story too, a quiet observer in the theater of history. The furs around you feel like a heavy, warm cloud, and the ice beneath you is as steady as the earth itself. In the distance, You hear the soft howl of a wolf, a lonely, musical sound that vibrates through the air. It isn't scary, it is just a part of the night's music. It fits perfectly with the silence and the cold. You let out a long, slow breath, watching the steam vanish into the air. You are so relaxed that you can feel every muscle in your face letting go. The tension of the journey, the strain of the light, the weight of the history, it all disappears. There is only the dark, the warmth, and the upcoming sleep. The Arctic is a place of extremes, but it is also a place of profound rest. When the sun finally goes down, it stays down, giving the world a long, deep breath. You are ready for that breath. You are ready to let go of the day and find the quiet of the night. The bone goggles have shown you the way to the shade, and the smoky quartz has shown you the way to the mystery. Together, they are a guide to the peace that you are feeling right now. As you drift off, you imagine the world spinning slowly in the dark, the sun waiting on the other side to begin the cycle again. But for now, the cycle is paused. The light is gone, and the shadows have taken over. It is a good time to dream of quiet things, of dark stones and white bones, and of the steady, patient hands that shape them. You are safe. You are warm, and the history of the world is a soft whisper in your ear, lulling you into a deep and beautiful sleep. The last thing you feel is the gentle pressure of the furs against your chin, and the last thing you hear is the faint, distant rhythm of the wind. It is a lullaby for the north, a song of ice and stars. You follow the song into the darkness, leaving the world of sight behind for the world of dreams. The smoky quartz and the bone goggles are resting too, their work done for now, waiting for the return of the sun to be needed once again. But until then, there is only the peace of the long, cold, beautiful night. The blinding white of the Arctic ice begins to soften and melt in your mind. The sharp, cold air replaced by the thick, sweet humidity of a private courtyard in a bustling capital city. You are no longer wrapped in heavy furs, but in layers of fine, lightweight silk that move like water against your skin. The transition is a gentle one, like waking from a dream of winter into the warm, golden reality of a late summer afternoon. You are standing in a garden where the only sounds are the rhythmic trickling of a stone fountain and the soft, occasional chime of a wind bell hanging from the eaves of a nearby pavilion. This is a place of leisure, of wealth, and of the subtle power plays that happen behind closed doors. Here, the smoky quartz lenses are not a defense against the sun or a tool for justice. They are the ultimate mark of the elite. You reach into a small, embroidered pouch at your waist and pull out a pair of lenses that are much more refined than the rough, hewn ones you saw in the artisan's shop. These are perfectly circular, their edges polished to a mirror, like shine and held together by a delicate frame of dark tortoise shell. The frames are light, almost weightless, and they sit comfortably on your nose. As you put them on, the garden is instantly transformed. The vibrant greens of the bamboo and the brilliant oranges of the koi fish in the pond are muted, bathed in a sophisticated, tea-colored glow. You feel a sudden, strange sense of power. Behind these lenses, you are invisible. People can see your face, they can see your clothes, but they cannot see your intent. You have entered the world of the high-born, where the most valuable thing you can own is a piece of the mountain that lets you see without being seen. It is a mainstream historical fact that by the late Song dynasty and into the Yuan, smoky quartz eyewear had become a definitive status symbol among the wealthy merchant class and the imperial bureaucracy, because the process of mining, grinding, and smoking the quartz was so labor-intensive and required such high levels of skill. A single pair of these glasses could cost as much as a small house. Owning them was a way of signaling to the world that you had moved beyond the need for manual labor. You were not a farmer squinting at the rice stalks or a sailor watching the horizon for storms. You were a person of the indoors, a person of ideas and influence. If you see someone walking toward you in the garden wearing dark lenses, you don't even need to see their face to know they are important. You just have to see the shadow they carry on their eyes. You walk slowly along the stone path, feeling the warmth of the sun on your shoulders while your eyes remain in a cool, private twilight. It is a peculiar sensation, like being in two places at once. You pass a group of officials sitting on low stools, drinking tea and discussing matters of state. Almost all of them are wearing smoky quartz, even though they are sitting in the shade of a massive willow tree. They look like a collection of mysterious owls, their dark eyes revealing nothing of their conversation. You find yourself wondering if they ever accidentally bump into each other, or if there is a specific etiquette for navigating a crowded room when everyone is essentially wearing sunglasses at a dinner party. It's the ancient equivalent of wearing your high-end designer headphones in the middle of a conversation. A very clear way of saying that you are far more interesting than anything happening around you. Historians still argue whether the shape of these lenses, usually perfectly round, was chosen for its symbolic representation of heaven, or if it was simply the most practical way to grind the stone without it cracking at the corners. Regardless of the reason, the circular shape became a fashion requirement. If your lenses weren't perfectly round, you might as well be wearing a piece of common glass. You notice a younger man at the edge of the group, his lenses a bit too large for his face, making him look slightly like a very fashionable bug. He is trying hard to look detached and wise, but he keeps leaning forward to make sure he doesn't miss his teacup. It is a light, sleepy joke of the era that the more important you were, the more likely you were to spill soup on your expensive robes because you couldn't see your spoon through the prestige of your quartz. The atmosphere in the garden is incredibly tranquil. You find a stone bench near a cluster of peonies and sit down, letting the weight of the afternoon settle over you. The smoky quartz does more than just dim the light. It seems to dim the noise of the world as well. Everything feels slower, more deliberate. You watch a butterfly flutter past. Its wings are dark, shimmering blur through the quartz. You feel a deep, resonant calm in your chest. You realize that the coolness of sunglasses isn't just about how you look to others. It's about how the world looks to you. When the glare is gone, the edge is taken off everything. You aren't reacting to the world anymore. You are observing it from a safe distance. It is a form of mental luxury that few could afford. A quirky or fringe tidbit suggests that some members of the elite were so obsessed with the hidden eye aesthetic that they began wearing their smoky quartz lenses at night. During indoor banquets lit only by dim lanterns, imagine trying to navigate a multi-course meal featuring slippery noodles and delicate dumplings while wearing dark, tinted rocks on your face in a room full of shadows. It was the ultimate test of grace and social standing. If you could eat a full meal without dropping a single grain of rice while wearing your shades at midnight, you were truly a master of the social arts. It makes you realize that humans have been doing ridiculous things for the sake of fashion for a very, very long time. We are a species that will happily risk a face, plant into a bowl of broth, if it means looking slightly more mysterious than our neighbors. You lean back, feeling the cool stone of the bench through your silk robes. The scent of the peonies is thick and heady, a sweet perfume that seems to hang in the air. You close your eyes for a moment, enjoying the darkness. Even with your eyes closed, you can feel the physical presence of the quartz on your face. It is a grounding weight, a reminder of the earth and the fire that created it. You think about how far these stones have traveled, from the deep, dark veins of a mountain, through the hands of a sweating artisan, into the smoke of a furnace, and finally to this quiet, sun-drenched garden. It is a journey of refinement, a process of taking something raw and making it into something elite. The sun begins to dip lower, casting long, golden shadows across the courtyard. The light is softer now, but the officials still haven't taken off their glasses. They have become part of their identity. You realize that once you get used to the shade, the world without it feels exposed and vulnerable. It is like a secret you share with the other people in the garden. You all know what it's like to move through the world behind a veil. You feel a sense of kinship with them, a shared understanding of the value of the hidden gaze. You are all part of a very exclusive club, defined by the color of your vision. You find yourself drifting into a state of deep relaxation. The steady, low, frequency hum of the city beyond the garden walls is a distant, unimportant murmur. The only thing that matters is the rhythm of your own breathing and the soft, tea-colored light. You feel like you are floating in a warm, shallow pool. The tension in your neck and shoulders has completely vanished, replaced by a pleasant, heavy lethargy. You are so comfortable that you could stay here forever, watching the shadows grow and the light fade. The history of the smoky quartz is not just a history of technology. It is a history of the human desire for a little bit of peace in a busy, bright world. You think about the contrast between this garden and the Arctic landscape from the previous section. Both used tools to dim the light, but for such different reasons. One was about survival, the other about status. One was about seeing the horizon, the other about hiding the self. And yet, the feeling of relief is exactly the same. The hunter on the ice and the official in the garden would both feel that same release of tension when they put on their eyewear. It is a universal human truth. We all need a break from the glare. Whether it's the glare of the sun on the snow or the glare of a rival official across a tea table, the smoky quartz provides a sanctuary. A servant moves quietly through the garden, lighting small stone lanterns as the twilight deepens. The flames are tiny, orange sparks that dance in the dark reflections of the quartz. The world is becoming a place of deep blacks and warm, glowing highlights. You watch the servants' movements. They are efficient and silent, a ghost in the background of the elite world. You wonder if they ever look at the quartz lenses with envy, or if they just see them as another strange burden of the rich. probably a bit of both. You imagine them trying on a pair when no one is looking, feeling that sudden, surprising hush of the visual world, before quickly putting them back in the silk-lined box. The air is cooling down now, the heat of the day radiating off the stone paths. You stand up slowly, your body feeling heavy and loose. You feel a sense of profound satisfaction. You have navigated the social world of the elite, and you have seen how a simple piece of stone can be turned into a powerful symbol of status and mystery. You turn toward the pavilion, your footsteps soft on the stone. You are ready to move on, to see where the story of the smoky quartz goes next. But you carry the peace of the garden with you. The memory of the tea-colored world is a warm, comforting presence in your mind. You walk past the officials, who are now rising to head indoors for the evening feast. They move with a dignified slowness, their robes rustling like dry leaves. Even in the fading light, they keep their glasses on. It is a commitment to the aesthetic, a refusal to let the world see them in their unshielded state. You smile to yourself, a sleepy, knowing smile. You understand the game now. You know the power of the shadow. You feel like an ancient influencer, a trendsetter in a world that hasn't even invented the word yet. It's a good feeling, a light-hearted way to end a long, beautiful day. As you reach the edge of the garden, you take one last look back at the fountain. The water is dark and shimmering, reflecting the stars that are just beginning to appear in the sky. Through your smoky quartz, the stars look like tiny, distant embers. You realize that you don't need the lenses anymore. The night has provided all the shade you could ever want. You reach up and carefully remove the frames, feeling the sudden, cool touch of the night air on your eyelids. The transition is beautiful. The world is sharp and clear again, but in a soft, non-aggressive way. Your eyes feel rested, as if they've been on a long vacation. You tuck the lenses back into their silk pouch, treating them with the respect they deserve. They are more than just an accessory. They are a piece of history, a manifestation of human ingenuity and social complexity. You think about the artisans who made them and the judges who wore them, and you feel a deep sense of gratitude. They paved the way for the world we live in today, a world where we can all carry a little bit of shade in our pockets. You feel a sense of connection to all of them, a thread of continuity that stretches across the centuries. The city outside the garden is settling into its nightly rhythm. The sounds of the market have faded, replaced by the sounds of families eating dinner and people preparing for bed. You walk through the streets, feeling the cool evening breeze on your face. You are no longer an elite official. You are just a traveler in the history of vision. But the lessons of the garden stay with you. You have learned that sometimes the best way to see the world is to look at it through a filter. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is hide your eyes and find your own quiet center. You find yourself heading toward a small inn at the edge of the district. The building is made of dark wood and has a warm, inviting glow coming from the windows. You feel a deep, pleasant tiredness in your limbs, the kind of tiredness that comes from a day of learning and observing. You are ready for sleep, ready to let the world disappear and find the deep, smoky darkness of your own dreams. The story of the quartz is moving forward, traveling across the Silk Road and into new lands. But for tonight, your journey is done. You enter the inn, and are greeted by the smell of wood smoke and roasted chestnuts. It is a cozy, comforting smell that makes you feel right at home. You find a quiet corner and sit down, watching the other guests as they talk and laugh. No one here is wearing smoky quartz. They are common people, living their lives in the clear light of day and the soft darkness of the night. You like the contrast. It makes the world feel balanced. You think about the judge in his courtroom, the hunter on the ice, and the official in his garden, and you realize that they are all just people, looking for a way to be comfortable and safe. The innkeeper brings you a bowl of warm soup and a piece of crusty bread. You eat slowly, savoring the simple, honest flavors. You don't have to worry about looking mysterious or maintaining your status. You can just be yourself. You feel a sense of lightness, a feeling of being free from the burdens of the elite world. The smoky quartz lenses are tucked away in your pouch, a reminder of where you've been, but they don't define you. You are more than the objects you own. You are the experiences you have and the things you learn. As you finish your meal and prepare to head to your room, you take one last look at the pouch. You can feel the shape of the lenses through the silk. They are a physical link to a fascinating past, a story of how we used the earth and the fire to change how we see. You feel a sense of wonder at the creativity of the human mind, the way we can take a piece of stone and turn it into a symbol of power and a tool for peace. It is a beautiful story, and you are glad to be a part of it. You climb the stairs to your room, the wood creaking softly under your feet. The room is simple but clean, with a soft bed and a window that looks out over the rooftops of the city. You lie down, feeling the softness of the mattress and the weight of the blankets. You are safe, you are warm, and you are ready for rest. You close your eyes, and the last thing you see is the colored glow of the garden, a soft, smoky shadow that guides you into sleep. The history of the quartz will continue tomorrow, but for now, there is only the quiet of the night and the peace of a well-earned rest. The sounds of the inn fade away, leaving you in a state of perfect stillness. You feel yourself drifting, floating on a sea of history and shadow. The smoky quartz has done its job. It has led you to this moment of calm. You are a traveler, a witness, and a dreamer. And tonight, your dreams will be full of soft light and gentle shadows, the legacy of the first sunglasses and the ancient hands that shaped them. You are at peace, and the world is exactly as it should be. The transition from the quiet inn at the edge of the imperial district feels like a slow, rhythmic sway, a movement that takes you out of the city and into the vast, dusty heart of the Silk Road. You are no longer standing still. You are part of a massive, slow-moving caravan, a river of people and animals flowing westward toward the setting sun. The air is dry and tastes of ancient dust and sun-baked earth. You are tucked between two large, soft bundles of silk on the back of a steady, slow-moving camel. The rhythm of the animal is hypnotic, a heavy side-to-side motion that makes your head nod and your shoulders drop. Each step the camel takes is a soft, muffled sound in the sand, a heartbeat for the desert. You are carrying a small, wooden chest with you, and inside, tucked into layers of sheep's wool, are the smoky quartz lenses that have journeyed with you from the east. As the days turn into weeks, you watch the horizon change. The lush gardens and stone courtyards have been replaced by endless plains of golden grass and jagged mountains that look like the teeth of the earth. You probably believe that travel in this era was all about adventure and constant excitement. But the reality is much more like a very long, very warm nap that happens while you are moving. It is a mainstream historical fact that the Silk Road was the primary artery for the exchange of not just goods, but ideas and technologies, including the secrets of eyewear. You feel the sun on your back, a steady, persistent warmth that makes the cool weight of the quartz pouch feel even more precious. You imagine the merchants sitting around the evening fires, showing off their treasures. A piece of jade from the mountains, a roll of silk that feels like water, and perhaps a pair of dark stones that turn the afternoon into twilight. The light of the desert is fierce, bouncing off the pale sand and the dry rocks until the world feels like it is made of polished brass. You reach into your chest and pull out the smoky quartz lenses. As you hold them to your eyes, the desert is tamed. The harsh, vibrating heat is replaced by a soft, sepia-toned landscape. The other travelers in the caravan look like dark shadows moving through a sea of amber. You feel a sense of smug satisfaction, a little joke between you and the sun. While everyone else is pulling their headcloths low and squinting at the road, you are observing the world through a filter of ancient mountain crystal. It is the original travel hack, a way to make a brutal journey feel like a luxury cruise. Of course, the camel doesn't care about your fashion choices. It just keeps moving, its long neck swaying in that same sleepy rhythm that has become the soundtrack of your life. The journey continues through mountain passes where the air is thin and cold, and across salt flats that shimmer like ice. You see the influence of the smoky lenses beginning to spread. You meet a merchant from the west who stares at your quartz with a mix of awe and suspicion. He has never seen anything like it. He touches the stone with a finger that is rough from years of handling rope and leather. To him, it looks like a piece of the night sky that has been caught and frozen. You realize that you are a carrier of a secret, a messenger of shade. Historians still argue whether the technology of tinted lenses migrated purely through trade routes like this, or if the idea was independently reinvented in the glass-blowing workshops of Europe centuries later. In your mind, you see the thread of the story stretching across the continents, a thin, dark line of quartz and glass connecting the two halves of the world. As the caravan finally descends into the lush, green valleys of the Mediterranean, the air changes again. It becomes heavy with the scent of salt water and ripening citrus. The dry heat of the desert is replaced by a soft, humid warmth that feels like a damp cloth. You find yourself in the city of Venice, a place where the streets are made of water and the buildings look like they are floating on a dream. The transition is vibrant and full of life, but you are still carrying the stillness of the quartz with you. You walk through the narrow, winding alleys, your footsteps echoing off the damp stone walls. The sound of the water lapping against the sides of the gondolas is a gentle, rhythmic pulse that mirrors the swaying of the camels you left behind. You are heading toward the island of Murano, the heart of the world's glassmaking industry in the late 13th century. Here, the air is thick with the smell of wood fires and molten sand. The heat from the furnaces is intense, a physical weight that hits you as you enter one of the workshops. It is a different kind of heat than the sun or the smoking furnace. It is a sharp, chemical heat that smells of soda ash and potash. You see a master glassblower standing near a furnace, his face glowing orange in the light of the fire. He is holding a long iron pipe, and at the end of it is a blob of molten glass that looks like a trapped star. He rolls it on a flat metal table, shaping it with a precision that makes your own eyes feel heavy with focus. This is where the story of the smoky quartz meets the story of European glass. The Venetians were the first to perfect the art of making truly clear glass, which they called cristallo, because it looked like natural rock crystal. But they also knew the value of color. You watch as the glassblower adds a pinch of metal oxides to the molten pot. Manganese for purple, cobalt for blue, and iron for green. It is a quirky or fringe tidbit that some of the earliest European sunglasses were actually made of colored glass intended to cool the blood or treat weak eyes. They weren't always dark like the smoky quartz. Sometimes they were a pale, watery green or a soft, calming blue. You imagine a Venetian scholar sitting in his library, wearing a pair of green glass spectacles to help him read a manuscript by the light of a flickering candle. It is a beautiful image, a blending of medical theory and artistic craft. The glass blower begins to create a flat sheet of glass, spinning the molten blob until it spreads out into a large, thin disk. This is the crown glass method, a slow and rhythmic process that requires a perfect sense of timing. The disk spins and spins, glowing with a soft, fading heat, until it becomes a perfect, transparent circle. You think about the artisan from the first section, grinding the quartz against the stone. Both are trying to achieve the same thing, a flat, clear surface. But their methods are worlds apart. One is a struggle with the hardness of the earth. The other is a dance with the fluidity of fire. You find yourself leaning against a wooden pillar, the warmth of the workshop making you feel incredibly relaxed. The sound of the glass being worked, the soft hiss of the air, the gentle clinking of the tools, is like a lullaby for the senses. As the glass cools, it loses its glow and becomes a pale, emerald green. The master glassblower holds it up to the light, and you see the world through it. It is different from the smoky quartz. The quartz was earthy and deep, like a forest floor. This glass is bright and airy, like looking through the surface of a shallow sea. But the effect is the same. The strain in your eyes disappears. The glare of the furnace, which had been stinging your vision, is suddenly manageable. You realize that the shading of the eyes is becoming a global phenomenon, a shared human discovery that is being refined and adapted in every corner of the world. You feel a sense of pride in being a witness to this evolution. The pace of the Venetian workshop is busy, yet there is a deep sense of order. Each movement is part of a tradition that has been passed down through generations. You find yourself drifting into a state of quiet contemplation, thinking about the journey of the idea. It started as a piece of smoky stone in a Chinese mountain, traveled on the back of a camel across the desert, and has now found a new home in the fire of a Venetian furnace. It is a story of transformation, of how we take the raw materials of the earth and turn them into something that improves our lives. The smoky quartz lenses in your pouch feel like the ancestors of this new glass technology, the elder statesmen of the world of shade. You imagine the first pairs of Italian spectacles being fitted with these tinted lenses. They were often held on the nose by a simple bridge of bone or metal, pressing against the skin in a way that was probably quite annoying. It is another light joke of history that the earliest glasses were essentially a torture device for the bridge of the nose. You see an old man in the corner of the workshop trying on a pair of the new green lenses. He keeps adjusting them, his nose wrinkling as he tries to find a comfortable spot. But as soon as he looks out the window at the sparkling water of the canal, his face relaxes. He sees the world clearly without the pain of the glare. The annoyance of the frames is a small price to pay for the gift of sight. The afternoon sun begins to set over Venice, turning the water into a shimmering field of gold and pink. The light reflects off the colorful glass in the workshop, creating a kaleidoscope of shadows on the walls. You find yourself feeling very sleepy. The rhythmic sounds of the glassmaking and the gentle swaying of the water outside, creating a perfect environment for rest. Your body feels heavy and warm, and your mind is full of images of desert sands and molten glass. You are no longer a traveler. You are a part of the landscape. You belong to the story of the light and the shade. You walk toward the edge of the workshop and look out at the canal. A gondola passes by, its oars making a soft, rhythmic splashing sound in the water. The gondolier is singing a low, melodic tune that is almost lost in the distance. You feel a deep sense of peace, a feeling of being at the end of a long journey. The smoky quartz and the Venetian glass are two sides of the same coin, two ways of finding the quiet center of a bright world. You reach into your pouch and touch the quartz one last time. It is cold and smooth, a piece of the earth that has traveled thousands of miles. It feels like a talisman, a protector of your vision. The history of the sunglasses is moving into a new era. Soon, the technology of the West will blend with the wisdom of the East, leading to the creation of the eyewear we know today. But for now, in this moment in 13th century Venice, the story is about the craft and the fire. It is about the patience of the glassblower and the curiosity of the scholar. You feel a sense of gratitude for these people, for their willingness to experiment and their desire to see the world better. They were the pioneers of the shade, the architects of our visual comfort. As the twilight deepens, the furnaces are banked for the night, their orange glow fading to a dull red. The workshop becomes a place of long, dark shadows and quiet corners. You find a comfortable spot on a pile of soft, dry straw and lie down, letting the warmth of the building seep into your bones. The air is still and smells of the sea and the cooling glass. You close your eyes, and the world disappears, replaced by the memory of the desert and the rhythmic swaying of the camel. You are safe, you are warm, and you are part of a history that is as old as the sun. You think about the judges in their courtrooms, the hunters on the ice, and the officials in their gardens. They are all with you in the dark. They have all found their own version of the shade, their own way to rest their eyes. The smoky quartz was the beginning, but the story is much larger than any one stone. It is a story of how we navigate the light, how we protect ourselves from the overwhelming brilliance of the world. And tonight, that protection is yours. You don't need the lenses or the glass, you have the night. The sounds of Venice, the water, the distant voices, the soft tolling of a church bell. all blend into a single soothing lullaby. You are drifting, floating on a sea of history and fire. The smoky quartz is a memory, a dark, translucent guide that has led you here. You feel a sense of profound calm, a feeling of being exactly where you are supposed to be. The journey of the Silk Road is over, and the journey of the dream is just beginning. You are a traveler in the history of vision, and tonight your vision is full of peace. You imagine the glass discs cooling in the dark, becoming hard and clear. Tomorrow they will be cut and polished, ready to be worn by someone who wants to see the world through a veil of green or blue. They will carry on the tradition of the smoky quartz, providing shade for a new generation. It is a beautiful cycle of creation and use, a testimony to the enduring power of a simple idea. You smile to yourself, a sleepy, contented smile, as you let the darkness take over. The world is a bright, busy place, but you have found a way to make it quiet. You have seen how the light can be mastered, how the glare can be tamed. You are a master of the shade, a witness to the birth of a technology that changed the world. And as you drift off into a deep, dreamless sleep, you carry that knowledge with you, a small, dark stone in the center of your mind. You are at peace, and the night is yours. The last thing you feel is the gentle warmth of the workshop, and the last thing you hear is the soft, rhythmic splashing of the water. It is a song of fire and sea, a song of the history of the world. You follow the song into the darkness, leaving the world of sight behind for the world of dreams. The smoky quartz and the Venetian glass are resting too, their work done for now, waiting for the return of the sun to be needed once again. But until then, there is only the peace of the long, beautiful night. You see the dark lenses of the judges and the green glass of the scholars dancing together in your mind. They are parts of the same story, the story of how we see. You are a part of that story too, a quiet observer in the theater of history. The straw beneath you is soft and warm, and the air around you is perfectly still. You are safe, you are loved, and the history of the world is a soft whisper in your ear, lulling you into a deep and beautiful sleep. The gentle rocking of the Venetian gondola fades into a memory, replaced by the steady, rhythmic ticking of a tall grandfather clock in a quiet, wood-paneled study in 18th century London. The air here is different. It is cooler, crisp with the scent of old leather bindings, beeswax polish, and the faint, sharp tang of coal smoke from a small fireplace in the corner. You are no longer a traveler of the Silk Road or a hunter on the ice. You are a quiet observer in a time of great scientific curiosity. You are sitting in a high, backed velvet chair that feels like a warm embrace, your feet resting on a thick Persian rug that dampens all sound. The world outside the window is draped in a soft, English gray, a misty afternoon where the sun is a pale, silver coin hidden behind the clouds. This is the era when the ancient mystery of the smoky quartz begins to meet the precision of modern optics, and you are here to see the final pieces of the puzzle fall into place. On the mahogany desk, in front of you lies a pair of spectacles that look remarkably different from the heavy quartz discs of the Song dynasty. These frames are made of fine, darkened steel, with delicate side arms that curve gently to hug the temples. The lenses are not the deep, tea-colored brown of the Chinese masters, but a startlingly clear, vibrant emerald green. You pick them up, feeling the surprising lightness of the glass. It is a mainstream historical fact that in the mid-1740s, an English optician named James Iscow began experimenting with tinted lenses in spectacles. He wasn't trying to invent sunglasses for the beach. He believed that clear glass allowed too much white light to enter the eye, which he thought was harmful. He pioneered the use of green and blue tints to improve the quality of vision for those with sensitive eyes. You realize that while the materials have changed from stone to glass, the human desire to soften the world's edges remains exactly the same. You hold the green lenses up to your eyes and look toward the fireplace. The orange flames are transformed into a soft, dancing lime-colored glow. The shadows in the room deepen, becoming rich and velvety. It is a calming sensation, a visual hush that reminds you of the quiet workshop on the hillside where the quartz was first smoked. Historians still argue whether James Iscow actually intended his tinted glasses to be sun protection, or if they were purely for correcting specific vision impairments. But the result was the same, the birth of the modern shade. You think about how funny it is that for centuries, humans used smoke and bone and rare crystals to find relief. And now, here in a London study, the answer is found in a simple pinch of iron oxide, added to a pot of molten glass. It is like the world finally figured out the recipe for peace of mind. You find yourself leaning back in your chair, the steady tick-tock of the clock acting as a slow, rhythmic pulse for your thoughts. You are thinking about the journey you have taken. You have seen the smoky quartz guard the secrets of judges and the status of officials. You have seen bone goggles protect the survival of hunters. And now, you see glass helping the scholars of the Enlightenment. It is a quirky or fringe tidbit that during this period, people suffering from certain illnesses, like syphilis, often wore yellow or brown-tinted glasses because their eyes became extremely sensitive to light. While today, we associate dark glasses with cool celebrities, in the 18th century, they were often a sign that you were feeling quite unwell. If you showed up to a dinner party wearing dark lenses back then, people wouldn't ask for your autograph. They would probably slowly back away from you and offer you some medicinal broth. It's a reminder that fashion and function are often just two sides of a very strange, historical coin. The room feels incredibly safe and still. You watch the dust motes dancing in a single, stray beam of light that has managed to pierce through the clouds. Through your green-tinted lenses, those motes look like tiny emerald sparks. You feel a deep sense of continuity. The ancient tech of the smoky quartz hasn't really disappeared. It has just evolved. It has become more accessible, more refined, and more integrated into our daily lives. You think about the judges again, and you realize that even though we don't use quartz to hide our expressions in court anymore, we still use sunglasses to create a barrier between ourselves and the public. We still value the hidden eye, whether you are a movie star at an airport or a person taking a nap on a park bench. The dark lens is your shield. It is your way of saying that your inner world is your own. A light, sleepy joke occurs to you as you look at the heavy books on the desk. If those 12th century judges could see us now, with our neon-colored plastic frames and mirrored lenses, they would probably think we were all very high-ranking officials from a very confused planet. They might wonder why we aren't all napping behind our expensive shades. After all, the whole point of a dark lens is to find a moment of rest, isn't it? You smile at the thought, a slow, contented smile that makes your cheeks feel heavy. You feel a sense of kinship with all those people throughout history who sought the shade. You are part of a very long line of individuals who understood that sometimes, to see clearly, you have to look through a filter. The fire in the hearth crackles softly, a series of tiny, muffled pops that sound like someone turning the pages of a very old book. The warmth is steady and comforting, soaking into your legs and making your toes feel tingly. You are drifting now, the history of the smoky quartz becoming a tapestry of colors and textures in your mind. You see the tea, brown of the crystal, the stark white of the bone, the emerald green of the glass, and the deep ink black of the Arctic suit. They all swirl together into a single, beautiful image of human creativity. We didn't just accept the world as it was. We found ways to change how we perceived it. We made our own shade. We built our own quiet. You find yourself thinking about the artisans one last time. The man in the dusty shop grinding the quartz, the carver on the ice with his bone knife, the glassblower in Venice with his iron pipe, and James Iskow in his London laboratory. They were all doing the same thing. They were all masters of the light. They were all trying to give us a way to be comfortable in a world that can sometimes be too much. You feel a profound sense of gratitude for their patience and their skill. Because of them, you can sit here in this quiet room, or lie in your bed tonight, and know that there is a way to find the dark. There is a way to rest your eyes. The grandfather clock strikes the hour, a deep, resonant chime that vibrates through the floor and into your bones. It is a slow, dignified sound that doesn't startle you. It only serves to deepen your relaxation. You feel your breathing slow down, matching the rhythm of the clock. Each inhale is a quiet, cool breath of London mist. Each exhale is a warm, soft release of tension. You are so comfortable that you feel like you are melting into the velvet of the chair. The world outside is growing darker as the sun finally gives up its struggle with the clouds. The twilight is coming, the natural shade that the earth provides at the end of every day. You realize that the story of the smoky quartz is really a story about the search for balance. It's about the balance between the light and the dark, the public and the private, the harsh reality and the soft dream. We need the sun to grow our food and light our way, but we need the shade to think, to judge, and to rest. The first sunglasses were a physical manifestation of that need. They were a way to carry a little bit of the night with us, even in the middle of the afternoon. This thought brings you a sense of deep, philosophical peace. It makes the world feel like a well-designed place, a place where every problem has a beautiful, smoky solution waiting to be discovered in the heart of a mountain or the heat of a fire. You think about the people listening to this story right now, scattered across the world in their own quiet rooms. Some might be in bright cities, others in quiet villages. Some might be under the stars of the southern hemisphere, while others are watching the snow fall in the north. But all of them are looking for the same thing you are, a way to let the day go. The history of the quartz is a bridge that connects us all. It reminds us that our needs are universal. We all want to be able to close our eyes and feel safe. We all want to find the quiet center. You feel a warm, fuzzy sense of connection to all these invisible listeners, a shared sigh of relief as the story nears its end. The fire is dying down now, the bright orange flames replaced by a soft, pulsing red glow that matches the rhythm of your own heart. The room is falling into a deep, comfortable shadow. You don't need the green lenses anymore. You set them down carefully on the mahogany desk, hearing the tiny, soft sound of the metal meeting the wood. It is a final, decisive sound. The journey is over. You have seen the birth, the rise, and the legacy of the shielded sight. You have traveled through centuries and across continents, and you have found your way back to the quiet of the present moment. You feel a lightness in your chest, a sense of having shared a heavy burden. All the facts, the dates, the names of judges and artisans, they are all tucked away in the back of your mind now, like books on a shelf. They don't require any more of your attention. You can just be. You can just breathe. You are a person in a quiet room, surrounded by the soft echoes of history. The air is perfectly still, and the world is exactly as it should be. You are ready to let the final layers of the day fall away, like the silk robes of an official or the furs of a hunter. You are ready for the ultimate shade, the one that requires no quartz and no glass. The memory of the tea-colored world of the Song dynasty feels like a distant, beautiful dream. You can almost see the reflection of the judge's lenses in the flickering candlelight, a dark, silent promise of justice and peace. You can almost hear the wind through the Arctic bone goggles, a lonely, musical whistle that speaks of survival and clarity. These images are soft and blurry now, losing their sharp edges as you move closer to the threshold of sleep. They are becoming part of your own internal landscape, a place of soft shadows and gentle lights. You take one last deep breath, feeling the cool, quiet air fill your lungs. It is the cleanest, most refreshing breath of the day. As you exhale, you feel yourself sinking deeper into the softness of your surroundings. You are floating on a sea of history, a vast, calm ocean of time where every wave is a story and every drop is a memory. The smoky quartz is the anchor that has held you steady, but now, even the anchor is being lifted. You are free to drift, to follow the current of your own dreams, wherever they may lead. The ticking of the clock is getting fainter, as if the room itself is moving away from you. The red glow of the fire is a tiny, distant star in the darkness. You are at the edge of the world, at the place where the history of vision ends and the mystery of sleep begins. It is a beautiful place, full of soft, smoky shadows and the promise of rest. You are not afraid of the dark. You have spent the whole evening learning its value. You know that the darkness is where we find ourselves. It is where we heal, where we dream, and where we prepare for the light of tomorrow. You are safe. You are warm. You are part of a timeless legacy of shielded sight. The artisans, the judges, the hunters, and the scholars are all watching over you, their work living on in the quiet peace you feel right now. The smoky quartz has done its job. It has led you through the glare and the noise, through the history and the mystery, and it has brought you here, to the very center of the quiet. You close your eyes, and the final, soft, tea-colored light fades into the perfect, velvety blackness of a well-earned rest. The world outside continues its slow, silent rotation, but you are still. You are a point of perfect calm in the middle of a moving universe. The history of the sunglasses is a long and winding path, but tonight it has led you home. It has led you to this moment of absolute stillness, where there are no more words, no more facts, and no more light. There is only the deep, resonant peace of the night and the soft, smoky dreams that wait for you in the dark. The time has come to let go of the story and find your own path into the quiet. As the final echoes of the ancient workshops and the grand courtrooms fade away, you feel a gentle, settling weight in your limbs, as if you are being tucked into the very earth itself. The air around you is soft and still, a protective cocoon that shields you from any lingering thoughts or worries. You are no longer thinking about the quartz or the glass. You are simply feeling the steady, calm rhythm of your own heart. It is a slow, peaceful drumbeat that guides you toward the deepest part of the night. Every breath you take is now a long, slow wave of relaxation that washes over you from head to toe. You feel your forehead soften, your jaw loosen, and your shoulders sink even further into the warmth of your bed. The world is a distant murmur now, a story that has already been told and tucked away on a high shelf. You are moving into a space where there is no time and no distance, only the soft, dark velvet of sleep. It is a place you know well, a place that welcomes you back every night with open arms. Let your mind drift like the smoke from the artisan's furnace, rising slowly and dissolving into the dark sky. There is no rush to get anywhere, no need to see anything. The shade you have found tonight is yours to keep, a private sanctuary that will guard your rest until the sun returns. You are floating, you are fading, and you are finally, truly at peace. The history is quiet now, the light is gone, and the only thing that remains is the soft, rhythmic whisper of your own breath. Sweet dreams, traveler of the shade.